Welcome to another edition of Climbing Intelligence Agency Talks.
Today's guest will be Nathaniel Coleman, American climber, silver medalist from Tokyo 2021, 25 years old, living in Salt Lake City, USA.
Yes, and from Salt Lake City, USA, born on January 1st, 1997. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Here he is.
Hey, what's up? Whoa.
Drink. You know this? Oops.
No, I can't. What is it?
It's a Slovenian beer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the crew they left it here last time. So, so how are you doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Nice.
Like in Slovenia. It's good vibes. Good city. Not too expensive, and the training is great.
Anyway, I remember when I met you for first time. I think it was 2018. It was the first Meiringen competition in the Meiringen, and
Yeah.
you came with a big team. We set up some problems for you in Zurich in Kletterzentrum Gaswerk.
Yeah.
And, yeah, an outdoor event, and then you went to Meiringen. I think you've been like 17th or something like that. So
That sounds about right. Yeah.
yeah. And then after the competition, I think the team left and you have one spare day. And then you wrote me if you can get like rope and quick draws and go for climbing.
Yeah.
Like you have been rushing to bring me the rope back on the main train station and then went straight to fly back to US. So
Yeah. Oh man. That was me and Sean.
yeah, that was
Coincidentally. Yeah, we just went climbing like 10 minutes up the road from Meiringen, I think.
Yeah, but it changed lots of since then. So
Meiringen.
yeah, for example, you have been, I think, second in Tokyo or something like this, right?
Yep. Yeah, that was
Just-
a big change.
It was, yeah, probably a big change for you. Can you tell us something about the Tokyo generally? How was it? Like first time Olympic Games for climbing, first time for you?
Yeah, being there, being a part of the Olympics was a lot more grandiose than I was expecting. So much going on, so many people, so many volunteers, so much money in the event, and yeah, it was pretty overwhelming. But it was really nice to have the team that we had there and the coaches that we had there. So we rolled as a unit. We handled everything as a unit, and yeah, man, definitely something I'll never forget. And I think that goes without saying. But the competition, I remember thinking, wow, this is running really smoothly. There were a few things that like they weren't really prepared for. Like they told us, okay, all of the climbers, you have to stay in your little isolation zone until 2 hours before you climb, and then you can go to the wall and warm up. And immediately we just all went to the wall and warmed up. There's no stopping us from going and grabbing holds as soon as we get in there. Yeah, they were very punctual. They would have a little like go-kart that would drive you from the warm-up wall to the competition wall, and it would leave every 2.5 minutes, and there would be a guy waiting, looking at his watch, and he'd be like, okay, go. And you'd take off in your little go-kart. Yeah. On that big stage with the bright lights, it was quite intoxicating. I was pretty grateful at times that there wasn't a big crowd, because I think that would have just added to the stress.
Yeah.
And it was plenty stressful as it was.
So what was it that made it so stressful? Just a lot of people or cameras or just being in the Olympics, or like what was most contributing factor to the stress?
It's just the aura that the Olympics has, and the significance that the event built up in my mind. That's what made it the most stressful.
Is this something that you try to sort of prepare for and fight against, sort of build up in your mind to just keep it?
Yeah, I tried to tell myself that I would just treat it as any other World Cup, because it was against the same competitors and it was the same level of climbs that I was used to competing at. But that wasn't going to work.
It's hard to do it.
Yeah.
It's of course difficult to prepare for something that you never experienced, right? And no one in climbing has experienced that. So I'm also curious about the actual conditions there, like the heat and the humidity.
It was definitely hot and it was definitely humid, but we prepared for far worse. We did trainings in a little airtight room in the U.S. with a like a grasshopper board and then a spray wall, and we would turn on humidifiers and we would turn on the heat and just get it as close to Tokyo. Not even close to Tokyo conditions. We would just get it as miserable as possible.
Right.
And then we'd do circuits. And so when we got to Tokyo, it was very manageable. I think the only time during the competition that I felt like I was really overheating was in bouldering qualifiers. That 5 on, 5 off format. There was no way to keep my body temperature down, and that was wearing an ice vest. As soon as I got back behind the wall for all 5 minutes of my rest time, standing right in front of the like AC units they had. It was no match.
But like, do you feel that the preparation you did with the humidity and the heat and all that, do you feel that your skin sort of adapted to it?
I don't think so, because you need to be in that. Well, I don't think the preparation in the US helped the skin adapt, but getting to Tokyo or getting to Japan 2 weeks in advance definitely helped.
Sure, if you go for the competition, you want to win the competition, but how was it like, to get the silver medal? Did you expect it? You can be so good, or?
No way. No, I was, I set my goals and set my sights on just making finals. I thought that if I could make finals, then however I did in finals, I would just be happy to have competed twice. You dream and you visualize about taking that gold medal and you're like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? But for me, it was never something that I acknowledged as like a conscious goal. But yeah, taking the silver was far beyond any predictions I had made. And I was just happy to have proved myself wrong and to prove my friends and my family right. It was a really cool feeling.
But like, do you think not expecting it actually helped in performing? Like, if you compare to say Tomoa or Adam, who had like huge expectations on himself, like.
For sure. Yeah, I think looking back on it, I think I was in one of the best positions going into that finals, because I had just barely made it into finals. And I had, like you said, no expectations. It was pretty, shocking to everybody, I think, Tomoa and Adam's final results. It just goes to show you that, the pressure at the Olympics is, I think, the biggest wild card, the biggest determining factor for the final results.
But you mentioned the like you didn't really believe in yourself in that sense, that you didn't expect, you didn't believe you'd take a medal, but your family, your friends, they believed in you. Did that add pressure to you, or was it just like, yeah, like these are my guys, you know, they got my back, that kind of thing? Like,
it took a lot of like mental effort and conversations with myself to switch that feeling from pressure on myself to feeling like they had my back.
And how do you do that? How do you go about it? Like, do you talk to someone, or is it just in your head?
Most of it is in my head. I'd say the large majority is in my head. I try to find like a quiet place somewhere that I can get into a very focused mode, and I just kind of talk through, I acknowledge like all my fears, see where they're coming from. Okay, I'm feeling nervous because I feel like I have a lot of pressure from my friends and family. And then I just remind myself of things that I know. You know, they just want to see me do well, but they don't, you know, no negatives if I don't do well. Just remind myself of these things that I know, and kind of, I don't know, I guess just strengthen that that neurological pathway in my brain. Yeah.
So you don't work with mental coaches or anything like that on the team?
No, I have in the past, but I haven't for a while.
Okay, seems to work. So
yeah.
So how much have you changed the training actually before the Olympics? And how, like, when did you start to train for Olympics?
I started to train in, I think, January of 2020.
Okay.
And then took a break because it got postponed. And then I geared back up for it, I think around December of 2021. And I did a good long, like 3-month cycle before the start of the World Cup season. And it was, I think, one of the most productive, it was probably the most productive training cycles I've ever been through. We added some new things. We were forced to add some new things because of the speed discipline. So I feel like I've gained a lot more power than I have in past seasons.
So do you think this is a thing that actually helped your bouldering as well? Or
yeah, for sure.
So in a sense, it was a good thing with the speed climbing, like.
Yeah, I think so. You know, even though speed climbing takes so much energy and so much time out of your weekly training, it does force you to focus on just raw power, and it builds a lot of raw power. So I was feeling really strong going into Meiringen.
So how it looks actually, how it looked like your training week? How many hours did you train at that point?
I ranged anywhere between 18 and 24, which is like significantly more than I have done in the past. It was pretty much, I would break it down by having 3-hour sections of training. And I would do like 3 or 4 of those sections over the course of 2 days. And then I'd rest, and then I'd do another 2-day block, and then I'd either rest for 2 days or do a light session for a 3rd day in a row. And I think the highest I ever got was 24 hours. That's 3 hours of climbing in the morning, maybe, and then 3 hours of weightlifting or cardio or whatever else
Mm.
I'm supplementing my training with.
Of those 24 hours, what percentage would you say is like sort of on the wall training?
Mhm.
How much is weights and how much is cardio or stretching or whatever? I don't know.
In my like preparation, in my real fitness building phase, which is, you know, a good month or month and a half away from the competition or from the peaking, I would say it was 50% climbing, 25% weightlifting, and then split the remainder between hangboarding and cardio. Just as rough estimates. But it was cool because Josh would kind of build all of the elements into a workout, like a single workout that I could do. And so it was also like mentally stimulating instead of just grinding through weightlifting and then grinding through cardio. And then.
So does the Josh writing your whole training plan, like on the wall, off the wall, or?
Pretty much. Josh structures most of it, but Zach DiCristino, our physical therapist, he does a lot of the background research and makes sure that, does a lot of the background research to make sure I'm training the right, like energy systems. And then also he knows a lot about weightlifting because, fun fact, Zach DiCristino used to be a bodybuilder back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, he was a tank. You wouldn't know it now.
I suppose when you're training hard, you're really pushing yourself, right?
Yeah.
How do you know how much you can push yourself really? Like before it's too much, before you start just breaking down the body, the muscle.
That's a good question. I think that it's just it's a limit that you test over the course of many years. So when even as young as 15, when I started doing my first like really hard, intense workouts, I was always testing how hard I could go. And a lot of times you go too hard and you have to take 2 weeks off because something is strained. And then you know that, okay, next time something feels that difficult or like something feels off when I'm doing a workout or a move, it's time to back off. And I think it's pretty difficult to injure yourself for the most part when you're just climbing at a high intensity, unless you're not taking enough rest. And I have never had a trouble taking multiple rest days. I love to feel good climbing on the wall, and I don't think overtraining is a big fear of mine. But so I max out at like 3 days of climbing in a row or of training in a row, and usually I do like 2 days of training and 1 day of rest and 2 days of training.
So now are you back to the like normal training, to those 18 hours per week or whatever is it now, or?
I've kept it pretty high. I think that my intensity has gone down, but I still spend about 24 hours like in the training center.
So lower intensity, but still same amount of time.
Yeah.
Is it more difficult now to train that you don't have well, maybe you have, like, but I guess the Olympics was sort of a very clear goal. Whereas now it's still a couple of years till the next Olympics, which is probably a goal, but I mean, that's not exactly what you're training for this week, I guess.
Right. I haven't experienced any dip of motivation, which is something that I'm really happy about. I think that training for the Olympics showed me what a good training plan can feel like and how rewarding that can be in and of itself. So I'm just trying to, this season, my focus is almost more on like improving on the training. And I'm more using my World Cup results to gauge how effective that training plan was.
And can you do that really? I mean, like Meiringen, for example, you happen to be what, 21st?
Yeah.
Which is like just not making the cut.
Yeah.
But in reality, it doesn't mean that you were off in your training in any way, because if you were 20th, you might as well win.
Right.
Or could you feel that you weren't on a form, so to speak, or was it more like shit happens?
I think the real test that I was looking forward to was the semifinal round. If I could have gotten into semis, I would have, and climbed on those boulders, I would have known where I'm at compared to last year. No, yeah, I think qualifiers for me was just like a mental miscalculation. I didn't give everything, you know, which I thought maybe I can get away with it this time, but no, you got to.
But was that like a conscious decision, or could you just feel it afterwards? Yeah.
Yeah, no. After the fourth boulder, I felt like I was in a really good position. I thought that I didn't really have to do the last boulder in order to qualify. So when it came down to it, and I needed that extra bit of GER to get the top of the fifth boulder, I just didn't exert it.
Right. Okay. So about those boulders, what did you think about the qualies?
Man, it was I liked the round. I had a lot of fun with it, but there were like, I don't know, maybe it's just my ring and style, but it was very very slopey, very open-handed, hardly any crimps. And then I certainly didn't appreciate the dyno to the fist jam. It's so painful. And I'm sure that that's because I'm not experienced in crack climbing. But yeah. It was a pretty good like difficulty, I think, for and a good test of skills mostly.
So what's actually your style? Like, what do you like at the competition? What kind of problems? What kind of holds?
I really liked I think that what was it? The third? I think it was the third qualifier. Was like a perfect embodiment of my style. Maybe it's the fourth. It was the one that you needed to pretty much campus power cross. I think a lot of people ended up matching the big football hold and then going Gaston into the next flat hold. But yeah, just big power through like pretty positive holds is my style. That's what I enjoy most. Unfortunately, I think what I'm best at is like just really groveling through a super intense like wrestling match of a boulder. Like I'm thinking of the fourth finals boulder last year.
Right.
It was just like get super uncomfortable under this thing and find a way to get through it. And I seem to do those boulders more often than not, but it's never fun.
Until afterwards, right?
Yeah, afterwards it's worth it, I guess.
But I was also curious about, because you said you wanted to get into the semi-final round to really measure yourself. But like, what would you say the difference is generally between the qualies and the semis, and also final?
I would say if qualifiers is like an average of V10 difficulty, I think semifinals is an average of V12 difficulty. And that's not to say that those are grades that everybody would agree on, or even that I would agree on, but I think it's just a difference, you know. It's not a notch higher. I think it's two notches higher.
It's just harder, right?
Yeah, intensity higher. Sometimes they just have really complex and difficult coordination moves that nobody can do. That's where they like test the limits of what's possible, I think.
And then finals is
is just a show. They just put whatever on the wall. They're like, oh yeah.
I mean, especially this year, right? So it was like jumping around.
A lot of jumping, yeah. A lot of boulders we've seen before at Meiringen in previous years.
You train like in Salt Lake with the Josh and team, right, in your training center?
Yep. Yeah, that's 90%.
90%. But now you are in Slovenia, and you train with Roman. Yeah. So how is it? What's the difference between USA and Slovenian training?
It's quite a stark difference, I think. Roman, he has like a small group of people that train with him, maybe like 8 people in total. And he organizes their climbing days, resting days. He gets, like me and Sean, we've been climbing with different people, depending on who's climbing or who's resting. And then every day has like a plan that he follows pretty strictly. He's very, very punctual. But it's cool because I see that the Slovenians that train with him give him so much respect, and they try so hard to do the boulders that he gives them that it's incredibly motivating. I've been watching Sean try really, really hard, and I've been noticing myself try really, really hard as well. The tough thing is my finger after Meiringen. I guess I had like a minor pulley injury going into Meiringen, and then after Meiringen it was pretty not happy. So I've been like, I haven't been able to push it to the limit, but it's still good to climb with these guys and see how they do it.
So do you think this is something you can take with you to Salt Lake, this mindset of like trying really hard at the boulders that the coach sets for you or gives you? Or?
I think that it will be something that I'll try to take, but I think in the end it's just like, it's a vibe, you know, like if you're with people and that's what the session is going to be, then that's how everybody trains. But you can't be the only person like screaming your heart out, you know.
No, but you're the captain, right?
That's what they say. No, Josh is our captain, our fearless leader.
Right.
But he's a really good motivator and like bringer together of the team.
No, I mean, if you train in the US, so you can choose more like what do you like, or you know, like you said, Roman is really, he planned everything, you know, what do you climb, what do you do on your days off, and if you're training like in US, it's different than like
it's definitely a lot more like personal, a lot more on me to decide what I'm gonna do.
So what is the biggest advantage now that you have like training facilities in Salt Lake City compared to before, like national training facilities? I mean, for the team.
The biggest advantage, I think, is just having space for a spray wall and competition boulders, and having, you know, Josh and some other guest setters from around Salt Lake give us new competition boulders every once in a while, because it's, you know, it's just practice. I think there's 50 guys in the world that are strong enough to win a World Cup, but only 10 of them possess the skills necessary, and only, and less than that possess the mental ability. So.
Yeah. So what you're saying is actually that there are fewer than 10 people that are capable of winning a World Cup.
I mean, I just kind of threw that number out.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting though, in a sense that back in 2015 when you came on the scene, I think you were second twice in a row or something. But not since. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
I mean, you took that silver in the Olympics, which is kind of big, but
back in second, baby. Yeah, the story of Nathaniel's fast rise and equally as fast fall, and then slow rise once again. It was my first World Cup. I was 17, and it was 2014. It was in Vail, and I was one spot out of semifinals, and that was the first time that I had ever not made semifinals at any event. I was very used to winning the youth events that I competed in, and I gained a lot of confidence at my performances in adult nationals, having made semifinals when I didn't know what the level was going to be. So not making semifinals at that stage against World Cup competitors, it was like incredibly motivating. And then next year, I trained harder than I ever had, and I made incredible gains. And I was just super strong and had no expectations. And I had like grown up practicing comp style boulders just because I thought that they were fun. I was always dynoing more than my teammates, and I grew up playing soccer, so I knew how to do run and jumps and stuff. And that all mixed to give me like 2 outstanding performances in 2015. And then 2016, I just like lost the fire. I didn't train that hard because I honestly assumed that I had what it took to do really well in World Cups. And then I got shut down. In 2017, I was like, oh, well, 2016 is just weird. But same thing happened. And then before you know it, after a little bit of neglect, I was back at square one, trying to get back into semifinals of a World Cup.
Right. It's tough, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. In 2015, I think that the style was just beginning to change. And by 2018, the style had pretty well developed and advanced in this new style. And so it's been a lot harder to make progress in these last couple of years than it was when I was younger.
I'm just thinking maybe you were kind of ahead of your time. Like, since you said you were jumping and doing those comp style boulders more than others, and then because I mean the change in style had, like you said, just begun, and then the rest of the people, the athletes, adapted in a way and sort of caught up. When you like decided to chill more.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't even remember any like crazy comp style moves back then.
No.
I could just be totally missing something though. But I mean, both World Cups that I took second in, I was tied for 6th with in both of them. So barely squeaked into finals, and then had fantastic performances. So if in any other parallel universe, I probably didn't make finals.
But it seems to be like a pattern there that ideally you squeeze into semis or finals, and then you can relax and just do your best, right?
Yeah, for sure. Barely
I think
making it
that's
a spot to be in.
it's probably the same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
for
Yeah,
sure.
it's pretty rare that, well, it's not rare, but it is more difficult to take first in qualifiers and then continue on and make finals.
When we're talking about the men's category, right? If we talk about the female, it seems easy, right?
Yeah.
We have a bunch of questions from Instagram. Who was your idol or inspiration in climbing? I guess when you started.
I mean, who else but Chris Sharma? You know, he was the man. I watched every piece of content that came out about him. As I expanded my climbing knowledge, I looked up to Daniel Woods, Dave Graham, Jimmy Webb. You know, they seemed like homies. They seemed like a crew, and they were just always out doing the hardest things in the world. It was really fun to follow along with.
But you climb quite a lot with them now, don't you? When you get the time for it.
Yeah. Now we're climbing together. It's like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's your weakness and how do you work to improve it?
I think definitely my weakness is finger strength. I haven't done a lot of hangboarding in the past, and being a bigger guy, I think that you have to focus on your fingers if you want it to be anything other than a weakness. So yeah, I've just been doing more hangboarding and trying to not avoid the crimpy boulders. One thing that I'm trying to work on in competition is to stop overcomplicating boulders. Oftentimes I see when I'm reading a boulder, I'll see a pattern of holds and I'll think, oh, it's like a flying toe hook catch. And then no, it's just, you just reach up and then you put the toe hook in two separate moves. And so I often get stuck in those, like, you think it's harder than it's going to be. And the setters are getting crafty now. They're making boulders that are supposed to look like triple clutch dynos. And the only way to do it is to stop on the second hold. It's so crafty. So
when did you push yourself the most? I guess that's in climbing though, indoor and outdoor or outdoor.
Yeah, first thing I think about is training for the Olympics in that initial training block from December to March or whatever of 2021. But the second thing I think about is the year leading into my 2015 World Cup season. That was a big step up in my training intensity at that time.
And if you were to choose a specific climb or boulder that pushed you the most?
Oh man, it's gotta be Grand Illusion.
The 80 plus boulder.
Yeah, in Little Cottonwood.
V16, sorry, V16.
Yeah, V16. So we speak American, please.
Right.
Yeah, in the home crag of Little Cottonwood Canyon. I spent 9 days over the course of a month and a half, I think, and definitely needed to level up a lot in order to do that one.
I got one that is actually not about climbing, but about being from Salt Lake City and not be a Mormon. What's that like?
Yeah, there's a lot of Mormons in Salt Lake City. There's a lot more Mormons anywhere else in Utah. So Salt Lake is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. Any of the bigger the city, the less you see that influence. Although it is.
Makes sense, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, growing up in the public school system, if you were LDS, you automatically had like a really solid social group that you would see every day at school, but you would also see every Sunday. And so not being part of that was not ideal, I guess you could say.
Okay. Okay. At such an elite level, are there times you lack confidence, and how do you deal with that and move forward if you lack confidence sometimes?
Yeah. So my years of subpar training in 2016 and 2017 got me really good at dealing with a lack of confidence, because I would roll into every competition and be like, man, I'm a lot weaker than these guys, but I'm just gonna, I'm here. There's nothing to do now. I'm just gonna try to climb my best. And I think that helped me focus not on my prep, on things that were out of my control, and focus just on things that were in my control. And now in the last couple of years, I've gained a lot more confidence, and I'm finding new things to focus on when I roll into a competition, But, anytime I'm lacking confidence, I resort back to those old patterns of thinking that I'm here, what's done is done, I'm just going to do my best.
So I do have some as well. So first one was, what advice, both general and specific, would he give his younger self in regards to competing?
Oh man, that's good. Specific would be just do a little bit of hangboarding when you're young. Just do a little bit every year, build that base, don't lose that finger strength. Oh, and keep stretching. It's a lot harder to get flexible than it is to stay flexible.
Yes.
Very true.
Relatable.
Yeah. I think most of us can relate to that. And then in general, I don't think I would give myself any advice. I'm very happy with the path that I've taken through competition and through climbing. I don't think I could tell myself anything other than just enjoy the ride.
The next one is from Seb from Rock and Water, Mallorca. He wrote, he want to ask you about the days he spent with us in Mallorca shooting for Prana years ago. Is he planning to come back soon and try some of the harder DVS lines?
Yeah, that Mallorca trip was kind of eye-opening, to be honest. I've always seen deep water soloing and kind of felt like it would be something that I really enjoyed. The only thing I'll say about that trip is I wish that I could have done more of my own thing, but it was pretty solidly a work trip at that point. So yeah, Rock and Water, I am definitely psyched to come back, psyched to hang out with you guys again, and try to expand in this element. But I have a feeling it will be a lot harder than it looks, and maybe take me a bit of investment before I can be trying the hardest lines.
I got a question there for you, Vladek. I mean, you go there all the time, or at least sometimes, and everyone goes, in the summer when it's all nice, or like autumn, really. Wouldn't it be better, like the friction would be better like in January and February, right?
It's super windy.
Just don't fall.
Bit for hardcore.
And then I have one more question. Are you using your American Olympic uniform as a headband?
No, that's a specifically made headband. I didn't shred my uniform just to make a headband. Although that would be pretty funny.
What are you doing if you don't climb? Do you have some other hobbies, or you do just climbing and that's it?
Other than climbing, it is pretty limited. I've been getting into skateboarding recently. That's been a good cross training and a good thing to just put my energy into. I was trying to
or something, right?
Oh, what was that?
Beach volleyball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were playing a lot of volleyball in 21 or like end of 2020, beginning of 2021. We had like a regular crew, and man, I'm up for a game anytime, but you know, it comes and goes. The crew kind of dispersed a little bit, so.
Okay.
Actually, we touched on the subject a bit of outdoor climbing with the DVS and the 80 plus bowler there, Grand Lucian. But how important is rock climbing to you?
In the off season, fall and winter, it's what I focus on mostly, and I think that it is such a mental reset and such a refreshing thing to do when I'm focused on competition most of the year, that I think that it does play a big role in my like mental happiness and in my training productivity. It's something that I've never had to be without, so I don't know if I could. Maybe I could just be a competition climber, but I'm really happy that I have the chance to climb outside all the time.
Do you think you'll focus more on it in the future, like sort of when you get older and quit maybe competition climbing? Is it something you see yourself doing way more?
I do, yeah, for sure. Me and Sean have some big goals also in the off seasons, so we'll be I think we'll be much more like focused on the outdoor climbing. In
big goals, you say?
Yes, exactly.
Big goals.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you. It's no secret. We're working on the extension to the Lee Majors route that I did in Arizona. So Lee Majors was I think it's settled on 8C plus route now, and the extension it makes the route much harder. I think it'll be easily the most difficult route in America. So I mean, it's we spent gosh, a whole month. I think most of December or January there in Arizona this year. So and I feel like we're not even halfway to sending it. So I think a couple more years and we'll see.
But the moves and sequences are done, I guess, or is it still working the moves?
The moves and sequences are done. Yep.
Okay. And if we're looking forward, I mean, we get the Olympics in Paris quite soon, like 2 years, with a different format compared to Tokyo, but not the format that we will get eventually in Los Angeles. So how do you see your career there? Like, obviously you're going for Paris, but are you going for Los Angeles as well, or?
Man,
at home in the US, I mean, it's
I know.
gotta be a big thing.
Yeah. It's hard to say no to. If everything keeps going well, if I feel like I'm actually a contender to qualify for LA, then yeah, I'll go for it, as long as I'm not sick of competition climbing by then. You never know. That would be an amazing experience. I will be, how old will I be? I'm 25 now, so
+6.
Yeah, I'll be kind of testing the upper limits of competition climbing age, but maybe I can do it.
When you say there's an upper limit, perhaps of like age-wise, do you think that is for physical reasons or like mental reasons or lifestyle reasons?
I think, I mean, one day it will be physical reasons, right? Once most things in climbing movement have been explored and perfected, then it will be like, okay, how long are you actually physically fit? But I think for now it's just a race of of how long can you stay learning the new climbing movement.
And about that, I think for me, it doesn't really make sense that you can actually be world class when you're 16 or 17. I mean, the learning curve should have to be longer, you know?
Yeah, that's what you see in really young sports is the younger generation. They are able to learn faster. They are more creative, and those two things combine nicely in competition climbing.
But I guess when the sport sort of matures, we're probably going to see the best around what, 23, 24, 25? What do you think?
I mean, I think you hit your physical peak at 27. So
so 27 then.
But a lot of sports defy that age. So
because I'm like, that's a physical level. Then you have experience. So
that's true. And experience, man, it does play a big part in competition climbing. So
yeah, and also in training, I guess, you know, knowing what to do and when.
Yeah, it does.
So see you in LA.
I'm convinced. I'm going for it. It might mostly depend on if any of my friends are still competing, honestly.
So what's your plan now in Slovenia actually? For how long do you stay there? Or
yeah, I stay till May 3rd and then go directly to Korea.
So you will do the whole season, the whole World Cup season this year?
I think so. Yeah, I've got them all on the schedule, got them all in my plans, but you know, I'm leaving myself some room if I start to get a little tired.
And how's your finger actually? It's feeling better now, or?
It's slowly getting better, but man, it is slow.
It's always slow.
Yeah. I mean, right after my ringing, it was like painful on any like in-cut jug, and now I can hold on to jugs fine. Open hand crimp fine. The only thing is half crimp is still bugs. So.
Great talk, I think. A lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. Thanks everybody who submitted a question as well.
Thank you so much for joining us.
For sure. I'll see you guys around, I'm sure, soon enough.
Yeah. Vladek's going to Salt Lake, right?
Yeah, I'm going to Salt Lake, so see you there. Maybe do some ordering between the comps, would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Let's do it.
So thank you so much, and thank you everyone who's viewing, if it's anyone. And see you probably in Brixton, I guess.
Cool. See you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.